Hey there, everyone. Thanks for joining me for my masterclass on Fry by Mark Ford. As you know, this piece is from a collection, Marimba Technique Through Music. And I always emphasize to my students that the key word there is technique. So these are musical pieces, and we need to remember that. But the goal of this book, in addition to making great music, is actually to focus on a specific technique. So Fry focuses on the single independent stroke. The single independent stroke, I'm a Stevens technique player, but you can use this in all of the different grips. The single independent stroke is characterized by one mallet not moving while the other is doing a rotation. So it's kind of an unnatural thing. And if you have the Method of Movement by Lee Howard Stevens, he really details in this book how to do it. And he goes through saying that there's actually 3 points of rotation, right? So one is in the center. If you rotate in the center, you're going to get the kind of stroke called a single alternating stroke. You can also get the double lateral stroke depending how fast you go. So both of those involve a center rotation. So most of the time, young players do this and they turn in the middle, and you'll see this mallet bouncing up. That's because I'm turning in the middle, so when this comes down, the other one goes up. If that's happening to you, then you're not doing the single independent stroke correctly. What needs to happen is for this back mallet to stay stationary as much as possible. A little bit of side-to-side motion is pretty natural, but if you're getting any kind of upward motion like this, then that's bad. So I usually teach this to my students in one of 2 ways. Either I'll hold the non-moving mallet while they're in lessons, or on their own, you can actually just place it right in between the crack of the 2 bars and gently put a little bit of pressure. I say very, very gently, so that the mallet stays and rotates in place. That will help your hand kind of learn this motion of rotating by itself, and then repeat the same thing for the outside mallet, leaving the inside mallet in place. Okay? It does take a while to help really develop this motion, but kind of doing it in this fashion I've found helps my students more than anything else to kind of get it correct. Again, you can do this in the other grips. So here's an example in traditional. You could do the same thing. Okay, and also in Burton if you like. Now Burton has a little bit of a different axis, so does function a little bit different than the other 2, but the principle is still the same. The non-playing mallet stays stationary. Okay, so in Fry, it's basically that you have a melodic line with a rhythmic ostinato. Okay, so I like to encourage my students from the very beginning, find the melody and isolate that out and play it. Okay, and then all right, so the complete melody is actually both hands combined. Good. So once you get that into your ear a couple of times, it's a little bit easier to put the ostinato underneath it. Okay, and so on and so forth. Now, I think that it's a really good idea to start introducing hand independence already on such an easier piece like this, and it's written perfectly for doing this. So you have essentially half notes in the melody with 8 notes in the left hand. So what I don't want to see is this. Because that is basically you're trying very hard to line the 2 notes up together, which is good, and we do need vertical alignment, but it's at the sacrifice of the proper sound and motion that the right hand needs, that lift. So I would encourage you to work on that, and then vice versa, left hand. As you get a little bit better at it, you might even introduce a little bit of arm. Okay, and then kind of mess with the tone that you're getting out of that melody note. Okay, moving on into the second section. So we have 16th notes running. And then... Okay, here it's really important to watch the non-moving mallets. And again, making sure that they are as stationary as possible. A little bit of side-to-side wiggle, okay, but if you're getting like this, let's see if I can even do it. Okay, that's really bad. It's really hard for me to do, too. One thing that I like to do here is actually, I call composite learning. So you look at the first measure where you're playing the outside notes, second measure where you're playing the inside notes, and composite those two measures together into one position. If we do that on measure 3 and 4, you'll see that we end up here. So I encourage learning that, getting the move, then adding the rotation. Good. The other thing that you'll notice that I did was I move a little bit early into that second position. So this is position 1, position 2. Move while you're playing this, and then move back. Okay, good. On this next one, here, bop, 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 bop. It's important for this first run that when you end with your left hand on the bottom, right hand on top, so that once you start the scale, your right hand is going to go up to the B flat. Now here you need to be in the other position for your left hand to go down to the B flat. So I like to do that change right when I come out of the last scale. And then here it doesn't matter because you're going to split apart anyway. Good. Now a lot of people have trouble with this last run. I found that there's two different ways that I work on learning it. One is to split the hands, right? They're basically going in different directions. So I think it's beneficial to learn each hand by itself. And then the left hand plays the downbeat, so you can add that if you want. Left hand. Good. You'll see I'm also trying to add the shaping as I go. So that way I'm really reinforcing what I'm about to do together. Now before I split them, I actually like to play them in a block. And I might even focus on this too. Contrary motion, that means moving apart all the way to here. Parallel motion, contrary again, fifth, final note. And then split. Chord. So having that chord already set once you get in the air, here, chord. Okay, so I hope that you enjoyed this masterclass on Fry and that you learned something beneficial that will help you to perform this piece better. All right, good luck out there.